All right, everybody, welcome to another fantastic episode of Diz Debate. We are so happy to have you all here today. We've got a fantastic episode coming up for you, but usually we start with a little Disney news, and we had a little chat before we hopped on, and we decided there isn't any. Their Toy Story 5's coming out. We're excited for that. Carousel of Progress people are still upset, and that's about it. So that's all we know about. So we're just gonna move right along into today's episode, which is Disney Vacation Club, and we are so excited to talk about that today. But before we do, we're gonna get to know everyone here. We've got some friendly faces coming back to say hi. Joe, how are you doing today?
I was just looking for the friendly faces. No, all good, Jackson. As I hope most people know now, I'm Joe with the ears. I actually got some today. But yeah, it's good to be back. Good to be chatting.
Excellent. We're glad to have you, Joe, as always. Kevin, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing really good, and I'm feeling nice and warm up in my warm, hot office up here in the top of my house. It feels like I'm in Florida. I'm sweating bullets.
We appreciate your sacrifice, Kevin. It's for the Diz Debate fans. AC, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing well. Thank you very much. Same as Kevin. It's a pretty warm day in England, but I'm looking forward to a good chat about DVC. So really looking forward to it. And thanks for having me back.
We are too, and we're always happy to have you back, AC. Adam, how are you doing? How is your life going?
It's all going well, yeah. And like Casey said, down here in Devon, we've got some sunshine, we've got some blue skies. My body is covered in sand off the beach with the kiddos today, so couldn't ask for it any other way.
Fantastic. And as always, thank you so much for tuning in. This is Diz Debate, a podcast by Disney fans for Disney fans, and we're just going to jump right in. So DVC, now everyone here besides me is a member. That's pretty cool. I'm pretty jealous. So I first just wanted to go around and ask people how long they've been a member and what their home resort is. And then I just kind of wanted to jump into how DVC works for people who may not know. So, Joe, why don't you lead us off? How long and home resort?
Okay, so my parents have been members now since 2024. So my last Florida trip, we decided to become DVC members, and yeah, our home resort is Saratoga Springs.
Kevin, what about you?
Love to hear it.
Well, here we go then. I joined in 2016. My home resort is Saratoga Springs. So that's 3 for 3, I think, where's on this call. Yeah, I joined in 2016. I think when we get going, we'll talk about the different options with DVC. We do have AC down there, and he joined recently, but these guys have got more on DVC than I have.
Speaking of AC, what's your home resort? How long have you been doing this for?
So mine's a bit complicated. It's not complicated. I was contracted under my parents' membership in 2013, which was the Boardwalk was our home resort, and then in 2023 I purchased my own contract, and my home resort is the Polynesian resort.
Nice.
Hey.
And Adam, tell us the deets.
Yes, been a DVC member myself personally since 2007.
Wow.
19 years strong as a direct member at the minute. My parents signed on the dotted line in 2005. I went 2007. And home, as you can tell by the whooping, is Saratoga Springs. Team Saratoga.
Yes.
So I keep hearing the word home resort. So what does that mean? So how does that work, and how does DVC work like that?
Right, okay, so you buy points at a resort, so that then becomes your home resort. So
I
you
see.
can buy different size contracts, different numbers of points, and they're at a home resort, which gives you the ability to book that home resort at 11 months, and then any other resort at 7 months.
I see.
So that's why home resort is important,
I see.
because if you want to stay on the monorail, every time you go on the monorail loop, you've got to buy a home resort at a monorail resort. So at Poly,
Best decision you can do.
It says the home resort monorail loop.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm not going to bust the Magic Kingdom. I'm going to train.
I don't know how deep you want to go into it with DVC, but there are several ways to buy it, and there are obviously, I mean, how many resorts are there now? DVC. I've lost count. I haven't got enough fingers and toes to count.
I think it's 14, 15.
Yeah.
It's crazy, and it just seems to be more and more popping up. I mean, there was news recently of a new sort of DVC resort coming to the Magic Kingdom area. Which
Yeah, it's a
looks
monster.
cool from the concept. Yeah, it looks really cool from the concept. But
It's the only thing I've talked about on our Disload podcast for the last 6 months.
Nice.
Yeah, it's all
It's
we've
top
talked
news
about.
as far as DVC is concerned, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, how many units are they saying? 930 something.
It's the second largest resort. Yeah, but
That's crazy.
do you want me to go through and just give you a brief overload as to how DVC works?
Let's do it.
That would be
As
nifty.
I have a DVC podcast, I'm not best qualified on here, but I think we can make a clear sort of definition of it. Disney Vacation Club, I'm going to use that horrible word. It is a timeshare. Okay, it's a points-based timeshare. That's the last time I'll use that language. Okay, so you buy points. You exchange those points for nights in rooms. You buy those points in whichever number you want. If you buy direct, you need to buy 150 points at this time to get the perks. And these perks are what everybody goes on about and what all the fighting and discourse is about on the Disney Vacation Club Facebook groups mostly. But you can buy directly from Disney. And I think at the moment, gents, where are we at? About $220 a point. Is that right? Somewhere around that region?
250. We're about 250.
We're 250, depending on what resort you're buying. And
Yeah, if we go in, so let's say at the moment, obviously Polynesian is a big seller because of the Island Tower. It has minimal incentives on it when they sell it. You're looking at 250 a point at the moment.
250 a point. Wow. Okay, so you can buy them direct at the resorts they're pushing at the moment and trying to sell, which obviously Poly and this new resort hasn't come online yet. They're still selling the Riviera and they're still selling that one out at Alani on the other side of the world. So there are lots of different resorts and lots of different options. You can buy second-hand or resale points. These points are points that people have owned before and are offering up for sale. So you buy the remainder of the contract. These contracts now all start with 50 years if it's a brand new contract. So this new resort will have a 50-year contract. The Polynesian did not have a 50-year contract because it had the years that the very first Polynesian DVC building was first put up for sale. So when it goes up for sale, it has a full contract at the moment of 50 years. When they first started doing DVC, they didn't do it the complete 50 years, but we won't get bogged down in that. So basically, if you buy Saratoga Springs, you buy what the remaining years on that contract. Now, obviously, these years go down as we get closer and closer to the end of that contract, and the contract ends in, Adam, am I right in saying 2056 for Saratoga Springs?
Saratoga at 2054.
2054. Okay, so we've got a little while to go on it, yeah?
Yeah.
Whereas some of the other contracts, you'll hear about contracts of 2042 end dates. So they all have an end date. So some of them are much closer than others. So that's the thing to take into account. You'll hear the home resort, which we explained. You can book at 11 months. So you choose your resort and you buy your points either directly or indirectly. You can still buy directly at Saratoga Springs and you can still buy directly at the other resorts, but you will have to ask for those particular resorts when you're trying to purchase. But if you look, get a quick Googling and you will find lots of resale companies out there reselling DVC contracts. Okay, so that's basically it. The points are a certain price, and then the rooms when you get your contract, you go on to the DVC website. Doesn't matter if you own resale or direct points, you use the same website. You're booking the same rooms. You'll be treated the same by the DVC staff. Okay, so it's exactly the same. Once you've purchased that, the only difference is you do not get the perks, which some people hang up a lot about. But obviously, resales are can be quite a bit cheaper, but we're not really going to go into prices and that, because I think that's getting too deep. So your points, there are points charts out. Again, another Google, if you get on Google and put points charts in for 2026, it will come up with the points for each individual room for DVC rooms for each individual resort. So you can see how many points it is for a studio at one of the resorts you pick. And then you have what they call a 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, grand villas, and some of those lovely lake shore lodges and other big buildings like that. Obviously, they go up in points, and the points charts show you what points they're worth for individual nights. There are seasons for these resorts as well. They all have different seasons. So some seasons, if you want to go and stay Christmas, that's going to be the very highest amount of points for that room. If you go in September, that's probably going to be the lowest points. Okay, so with a little bit of Googling, a little bit of research, you can look at what DVC amount of points you'd need for the sort of holiday you're trying to put together. Now, as Brits, I would say, because we're mostly Brits, I would say you've got to look at it and realise this is a product made for an American market. Okay, but there are a lot more ins and outs of it, but that's the base of it. You're buying points that you have each year that you can spend and use. Now, there is banking and there is borrowing. I think, again, that's like getting into the weeds. We can certainly get into that if you like. Just giving you an awful lot of information that my head's spinning, because I'm thinking, did I really get that across clearly? But basically, you're buying points that last for the amount of years on that contract that you can use every year to book a room. And the rooms are different, like a Polynesian studio's more than a Saratoga Springs studio. So you need to look at those points charts. But that's the basics, really. And then if you were like Adam here, he bought back in 2005, 2006, was it? Obviously, he paid a lot less money for his DVC points. I mean,
The excursion helped as well. The currency back then, since it was 2 to the pound, it made it a lot more affordable. Yeah, for sure. Saying that though, obviously you mentioned direct costing and costing around $250 a point. A quick Google on the DVC rental market website, if I filter that by the lowest price per point, you can get a Vero Beach contract, $47 a point.
Yeah.
$47 a point. However, it comes with obviously its caveats that Vero Beach is a resort, as Kev mentioned, which has a sooner expiry date. The 11-month window is a big benefit for DVC members. That's when you can book your home resort. There probably isn't that many people who want to have that home resort as Vero Beach because it's outside of WDW property. And obviously that means anyone who's buying a contract in Vero, if they want to stay in the Boardwalk, the Poly, the Grand Flows, Saratoga, they've got to wait for that 7-month window to open up and hope that there's availability. So it comes with caveats. Obviously, like Kevin said, you've got to do your homework when it comes to DVC, especially if you're looking resale or direct. There's benefits to both, for sure. But $47 a point sounds a lot more enticing than $250 a point, right?
Yeah. We had a very interesting interview with a guy that bought them when he was in the hot tub after having a few drinks at that sort of price. Yeah, it is interesting. The only other thing I've neglected to say is obviously on these points you pay dues each year. So you pay maintenance, right? Okay, so you're paying the maintenance dues. And now if you also look, so if you look at the price of points and you look at the price of dues, some of these contracts, and Vero Beach is one of them, are very expensive in dues in comparison to, say, a Polynesian contract, which is on the really down there. That's the lowest. I think, is it the lowest now? It's
lowest, I think, or the lowest. Yeah, it's $7 something a point maintenance at the moment. So essentially, what that means is every year. So say you've got a contract of 150 points. For every point you own, you have to pay $7.60 to maintain that annually. So you do $7.60 times 150. My math is not that good. It'll be times 150. You're looking at about $1,150 a year to maintain it, and that needs to be paid every year. and that will go up every year because Disney always increase the price, obviously, to maintain the resort. However, if we're going to get into the weeds a little bit here, let's get into the financial weeds because it's the one that opens the eyes. Now, I'll make it very clear here, this is not financial advice. Disney Vacation Club is not a money-making asset, and you do not buy it with the intention of making money. It is not that. So I'm just going to put that out there to kind of cover all our backsides. However, although, yes, I pay an annual maintenance of $800-900 a year to maintain my contract, if I looked at the price of a room, which I stay in, which is my regular room, which is a resort view at the Polynesian Tower or a standard view in the old building of the Polynesian, so the Island Tower or the new, for a 2-week stay, which would be the usual we would go for, I'm looking at about, what, £10,000-11,000 to stay in there realistically for 2 weeks? Yeah, and that's not tickets or anything, that's just the accommodation. So, you know, I paid the upfront on my contract. I paid $143 a point for my contract, but I did hardball them to the point that I got the deal I wanted. So I've done one trip on my home resort, and I've already made that cost back. And I've got that now for another 40 odd years.
Very interesting. I've just got the dues here. So the dues for this year for Vero Beach are $14.89 a point.
It's high. It's high.
Dues.
It's very high.
The dues for Polynesian, like you say, $7 something because I can't see Polynesian.
$7.60.
$8.33.
$8.33.
$8.33 now. It was $7.92 last year. Okay, so there's a big difference there. So yes, you can buy cheap points, but the dues are higher. So when I bought mine, I'm resale. So I'm resale here. So I bought my resale at Saratoga and I paid $85 a point with 36 usable years left on my contract. So you do some maths that I didn't understand, but I have a very good friend who's quite good with maths, and it works out that each individual point is about, I think it was $2.40 something. So I'll say $2.50 per point. So if my room is 10 points, so that's $25 plus my 10 points times my dues this year. It worked out that I think my studio was a $200 and something a night this year. Because obviously I take the dues this year because they obviously have gone up since I had them and they go up. So that's, you can work out what your point is, because that point price you pay, that's never going to change because it's gone. But you've got to, it's each point for every year. So I worked it out, yes, about $200 and something a night to stay in the studio at Saratoga in February this year, which is pretty cheap. I mean, where can you get a room for $200 a night?
It's a good point, and it's a point actually that I was speaking to someone on the socials. Dom, shout out to you, and he was looking for a one-night stay to end his trip in August, and the Poly, to stay in the Poly preferred room, just to caveat that again, it's a preferred room at the Poly, was $525 a night. So if you're thinking dues and you're thinking how much dues you're paying AC for your annual dues of Poly, couple nights, there's your dues.
Easy. Yeah,
That's so crazy, isn't it?
It. I will always I caveat the Polynesian is the shining example of a resort that has really high rack rates, but seems to be very affordable from a DVC perspective if you buy a resale contract. It really solidifies the justification. I mean, the reason I think we're probably getting really too deep into the weeds of DVC at this point for the non-experienced people. So I apologise for those. But so I think what we should do is we should probably claw it back a bit and talk about why DVC is the beneficial as a whole, and why we chose to do it.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Is like, it sounds dumb, but why? Like, I'm not accusing, but like, what's your mindset? What's the perks? I'd like to know.
Yeah.
What it gets you.
So I'll start mine then. I'll start my journey. We were regular Walt Disney World goers throughout the 2000s. You know, we did our first resort stay at Caribbean Beach in 2008, and then in 2010, 11, and 12, we stayed at the Yacht Club. And my parents paid rack rate for it, which is obscene amounts. So even back then, that was really expensive. So they were back and forth, and they came across obviously DVC anyway. My mum knew all about it, but it was never one of those things they executed. But it was only that time that they realised they could buy a second-hand contract. So they bought a second-hand contract at the Boardwalk, and we've stayed in some of the most amazing sites, places on site with those points. We've stayed at the bungalows on the Polynesian. We've stayed at Copper Creek Cabins. We've stayed in Grand Villas. We've stayed in all these places that, if we had to pay cash, would never have happened, because it's so expensive room rate, cash to pay. And some of them you can't even book cash. Some of them you are purely a DVC booking only, so you have to rent the points. For us, we're a very large family and a very large group. So it allowed for us to stay in some of the best resorts on property, and then enjoy those and create these, as they say, as it sells for them, it creates the memories of your family. But if we compare, say, like an All Stars sports room, right? Nothing wrong with an All Star sports room, lovely resort, great room for going, right? And it's a really, I say affordable way to stay on site at Disney, right? But then you compare it to something like a deluxe room, whether it be Saratoga, Old Key West, Polynesian. The room is substantially different, right? It's a night and day different experience, right? And the DVC, from a British perspective, if you buy a contract with a good deal, second-hand or new, whatever you see fit, you're paying for your holidays up front now at today's rate to give you the 50 years or whatever's remaining left of memories and holidays in some of the best resorts I've ever stayed in, and you don't have to worry about it, because inflation is going to happen. So from our point, it was a cost saving exercise, but also we just fell in love with the idea of it, being able to stay in all these places, And then when I could buy my own a couple of years ago for me and my kids, I could do the same for my kids that my parents have done for me. Granted, I was in my 20s when we started doing it, and now my kids are not even 5, and they are now going to have a lifetime of holidays going to Disney World and staying in some of the best resorts, because I paid a bit of upfront now for the long-term gain. So for me, it was a sacrifice now for the long term to give my family what they want. And because I bought resale, I'm not sitting here going, oh, it's really hard to kind of justify the cost. I've stayed once, and the experience I had, this year or last year with my kids and that, it was worth it. That was worth it alone. If I never went again, I'd be like, it was worth it. Well worth it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a similar thing with our family. We've always been Disney goers. We've done villas and staying on site without being members. We've rented points to stay on site as well. And then in 2024, I think they just decided to bite the bullet and say, yeah, actually, this is where we go on a holiday for the foreseeable. Is somewhere that we always want to go, and it's always a conversation at the dinner table that we will be going back. It's never if, it's always when we go back. So DVC for us made sense because that's where we want to be. Yeah, short and simple.
Well, it's so true though, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've never met someone who's bought a DVC and gone, I wish I'd never bought it.
No.
I've never met someone. I've spoken to lots of people. I said it when I did a trip report with Adam on my trip last time. That I proposed to my fiance in the Island Tower last year, right? So it was happily ever after. We were in the viewing deck because the Island Tower's got the viewing deck, and you can only get there if you only have it if you stay in there. And that's not me trying to brag. That's just the thing it is. And we were really fortunate that at the time. It was just me, my partner, and my kids in the viewing deck, watching Happily Ever After. So it was like a private viewing of the fireworks from the Polynesian, right? And it was the perfect time to do it, and I proposed to her. So from now, I look at that building and go, that's where I proposed to my future wife. I will never forget that, and it is the best thing I've ever done, and it is one of the greatest memories I have now of that resort.
That's such an amazing story to be able to tell as well. And that's so cool.
I look at the photo. If you look at a photo of the Island Tower, as a front one, you've got the 2 viewing windows. If you look at the lower one, I can point to that and go, "That's where it happened. That's where it happened."
That's so cool.
And it was just but it wasn't even. It's just, but that's what DVC gives you. The opens the door to you to have those opportunities to do those things, And it was just so wonderful, and I just love it. And the resorts, the quality of all the resorts, the upkeep is substantial. They look after it. The staff are incredible. I mean, they're incredible anywhere, but when you're in a DVC resort, you know, it's that welcome home as you walk through the gates.
Yeah.
Like you walk into the resort and say, "Oh, welcome home." There's no better feeling than that. It's insane how something so small can make you feel so good.
It's a really nice touch, the welcome home bit, and it gives you that sort of like, oh yeah, I am home. That warm sort of feeling, stepping back into the resort. I know it's already warm there. It is Orlando and it is boiling most of the year round, but it does give you that feeling of like, oh yeah, I am stepping home, which is an experience in itself. Like I've stayed at Caribbean Beach, I've stayed at All Stars, and staying at a home resort, a DVC resort, it is like you're part of the family there.
Yeah,
it is a nice feeling.
There's definitely a sense of pride.
Sorry, how did they? I'm intrigued how they snagged you, Joe, and the family. Was it something like from my perspective back in the day? There was a DVC stall right outside the reception of All Stars or Pop wherever I was staying at the time, and they were like, "Oh, you know, come and have a conversation." But what is it like now since you guys have signed the dotted line fairly recently?
So, my stepdad was a member before, and then something happened with partner and everything just sort of went right. Said in the contract, which he now regrets because he had it for a much better price. So he's always had DVC in the back of his mind, I think, and every time that I've gone with my mum and him, and we've always rented points. And I think the last time we went was really the one that was like they weren't coming back without being members, and that's what it was like. I first heard about DVC myself. I went on a trip with an ex-partner of mine, and they snagged us outside the boardwalk.
Nice.
And they pulled us in, and they said, you know, come to this meeting. You get $200. I was like, sold. Just get me there. Give me the money. So you know, $200 and some free ice cream for showing up. I was like, yeah, cool. Sign us up. Early morning, in Saratoga Springs. They showed us around. The Riviera was just being built, so they showed us around the mock room of there, and that was my first sort of like, oh, this DVC sounds awesome. You know, unfortunately, I was like 20 at the time, and it was just never going to happen. It was worth it for the $200 though. I don't know if they still do that. If they do, I think they've knocked the price down.
It depends. If you're a new member, I think they kind of incentivize a bit more. But if you're an existing member, going and they usually just give you a free bag and an ice cream, and off you go.
I still take that.
Yeah, I did. But I sat in it.
I'll do it for the hat, bro.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what got me thinking about DVC from there, and then I may have also planted the seed in this time coming home as members. So yeah, it's cool. I'm glad we do it. I'm glad we did it.
Now, I got a bit of a different story with DVC if we're talking about that. I'm a member of the Geeking on Walt Disney World community for my sins, and I have been for about 11, 12 years. And I did the podcast, got involved with the podcast very deeply. I was going on as guests as fairly regular, and they were members. Kurt Stone's a member, and quite a few of the people that he has on the show and the people that he interviewed, and then the community are members. And we've been going since '94. I took my wife on honeymoon in '94. Unfortunately, we stayed on iDrive. I can remember how much I paid and stuff like that. And then we went back we went back a couple of times. Then we went back with the children. And every time I went back to Disney, the price nearly doubled. You know, first up we stayed on iDrive, then we stayed a little bit closer, then we stayed longer, and then in the end we stayed at Port Orleans Riverside, which is 2012, and I'll tell you, it cost me $7,500 in 2012. £7,500 in 2012 to stay there for 3 weeks. It was 3 weeks, and it was 3 weeks on dining plan 3 dining
Yeah.
van, but it was expensive, and I knew then that we weren't going to be able to maintain this. Then I had issues with a family, ill health, sort of like took us away from the parks for a little while, and then when I was talking to Kurt, got in touch with him, I thought, how am I going to get back into this? Because I've got to be back in Disney. I mean, on this call now, there's nobody here that's not going to sell an arm and a leg to go back to Disney. That's the truth of it.
Yeah.
So we got talking, and one of the members she just messaged me, Kev, you can buy these Disney Vacation Club resale, and this is a Disney travel advisor, right? So she's a travel advisor trying to sell people holidays, and is now emailing me telling me DVC would probably suit you. So I started doing some research, looked at the price of DVC, looked at what I could get, and when you sit down and do the maths, I bought at $85 a point back in 2016, and resale now it's well over £100, I think, a point now, $110 a point at Saratoga, so it's still a lot cheaper. And I'm in my, I'm getting up there now in years, so my contract will run out. I think I'll be 88 years old when my contract runs out. So, if I'm still flying over to Disney, I'll deal with that problem then. That was the way I looked at it. And I bought it, paid for it outright, luckily. So I've got no loan on it. All I've got to worry about now is those dues. And it just makes going back to Disney every 12, 18 months so much easier.
Yeah.
So much easier. I've stayed in Animal Kingdom Lodge. I mean, my 25th wedding anniversary was spent in Animal Kingdom Lodge in a 1-bedroom with a savannah view. We sat on the balcony and we watched giraffes right outside our balcony, right smack outside our balcony every morning. To sit there after 25 years of wanting to get back to Disney at every possible opportunity, to think you would be able to do that, is just incredible. I've stayed at Bay Lake Tower in a 1-bedroom. I've stayed at, we did Wilderness Lodge this time in a studio, but we did Wilderness Lodge. To be able to stay in some of these hotels, it's just incredible. Absolutely incredible experiences. Forget the going to Walt Disney World as a theme park, just the hotels alone. I mean, we're going to go back next year, and we might do an Animal Kingdom Lodge stay and not go to the parks, and then move on from Animal Kingdom Lodge to somewhere else and do the parks later on, because we go for 3 weeks.
Nice.
But yeah, DVC, that's how I got into DVC, and there's 2 times to buy DVC. The best time to buy DVC was in 92 when it was first launched, and it was really cheap. And the next best time is now. Just buy it, because you'll only regret it if you don't.
Yeah.
Because it's like
That's so true.
this world, it's only going one way. It doesn't matter whether we're talking about the price of fuel, the price of jeans, the price of t-shirts, food, whatever. It only goes one way. So it's not an abnormal product. It's the same as everything else in life. It's only getting more expensive. Yes, the dues increase, but then you want to look at the price of a room increase alongside the price of the dues increase. There's no comparison. No comparison.
Spot on.
No comparison at all. So the question I've got is, Jackson, when are you buying?
When I can start guaranteeing trips, man. That's when I'm with Joe on this, because like what you're saying makes sense, right? You buy at the rate now, and potentially, right, you can keep up on it, but you can lock that rate in, and that has only gotten more expensive. So I can lock in a cheaper rate in the future, right? Which sounds pretty good on a room, right? But I'm with Joe, and I'm the guy going in to watch it for the $200 and the ice cream right now, because I'm just not there in my life. I just don't have that kind of money. Like, I'm like, oh, I got to replace the struts on my Toyota. I might break the bank right now. That's kind of where I am. But You make a good argument, and I really like that we're having this discussion because we're getting a really positive feedback on something that people do view as a timeshare. And timeshare, at least here,
Ooh.
has this really horrible connotation of salesmen and getting roped in and contracts, and then you're 85 and you owe all this money for some reason, and your kids get it, and it's a problem. But
Well,
from what I'm hearing is that it's not like that, and I like that about it. It sounds really good. It sounds like a good deal.
the one negative thing I felt when I was researching DVC was they've got an end date. So you pay this money and then your contract runs out. I thought that was a negative, but that's a positive because they end. My children aren't going to have to carry on because some of these timeshares, they're being passed on to children, and children are having to keep paying the dues on these timeshares.
Which
They're
is
not used.
horrifying. Like that's a horrible thing to do to your families, by the way. Just gonna put that out there.
Yeah.
But
That end date does help. It does help. But, I would say from a kid's perspective, I know for a fact my kids, I'm going to be, I mean, touch wood, I'll be here to see the contract end in 2064. I've got another 38 years left on this contract. By that age, I would imagine my kids will be buying their own contracts anyway, because there's no way they're going to get to my age. Yeah, there's no way they're going to get to my age, knowing my kids and the way they are already, and going, we're not going on holiday, not staying in a deluxe resort, and that's not because they're snobbish, because there is definitely a cultural shift when you become a member and you've stayed at All Stars though, and again, there's no discredit, they're fantastic resorts, wonderful places, very good, but then you get that level up and just the amenity level is better, i.e. Let's look at the pools, right? So pool's been a big one. If you're a DVC member at the beach club, you've got Stormalong Bay, right? Best pool, hands down, right? Then you compare that to the pool at, say, All Stars. They're very, very different experiences, right? So you definitely get that. If your family get used to that, which they will, and then you take them back, they're going to go, well, where's the sand and the lazy river and the splash pad? What do you mean I've got just a standard Disney pool? And they're going to look, and that is a proper first world problem, and your kids are very spoilt and lucky for that. But do you know what I mean? They're going to grow. In my head, my kids are going to grow up. Well, I don't want that. I want that, so I'm going to have to work for that and get that instead. Because I'm not going back to that.
not going back down. I can't go backwards.
I'm not going down.
What is this world?
But I mean, I'm as someone who's stayed and done that. I'm guilty of it. You go to that level and then you go back to All Stars, and again, I rag All Stars. It's not the rag. It's just the example. You go back and you go, yes, this is lovely, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
Well,
It doesn't have the standard of like the deluxe offers, and hence why it's a deluxe resort.
Yeah.
But when you've paid your DVC dues, you've already paid for all that, so you're just staying. You'll see people. I paid $600 a night for this room and all this, and I'm sitting there going, "Oh, well, no, I don't even know what I paid. I haven't paid anything. I paid 20 points."
Yeah.
Yeah,
we've made a point on a couple of podcasts, certainly on Brit's Guide, Kev, but we've made it on Disled, I'm sure, as well. And it's one of those situations now with inflation and with Disney trips and Disney community that's been brought. Everyone wants to get back there. The whole tagline of once in a lifetime, I'm sorry, it isn't a thing anymore. If you get bitten by the mouse once, then you are going to try to plan to get back. I've had people recently who have been friends of ours saying for years, are you going back to Florida? Why are you going back to Florida? Why are you going back to the theme parks? Why are you going back to Disney? And then they bite, especially now they've got kiddos, and it's like, oh, okay, I see it. I'm booking my next trip. And of course, they're booking their next trip looking at cash. And we've mentioned it on podcasts. If you look at how much you are spending especially from over this side of the pond, if you're spending on a 2-week trip, a 2-week package holiday to Walt Disney World, that's great. You've paid for it. It's a lot of money. And once you've had your 2 weeks of memories, you're taking your memories home with you. But you've got to start all over again for that next trip. You're back at zero, having to save up for the trip. With DVC, you are paying you can get similar prices to the cost of a couple package holidays, and you're locking your Disney trip accommodation in for the future. And not only that accommodation, it's the high-end, it's the 5-star deluxe resorts that you will be experiencing going forward for the cost of an annual due, which is going to cost you, maybe a fifth of what a package holiday probably is going to cost you for the next time you go. So as much as it's not just financial, there's a big financial element about DVC, and it's something that has to be considered. Personally, and I know it's an opinion shared, if you are one of those people who want to get back to the magic over and over again and be a repeated guest of Walt Disney World and beyond, DVC's got to be a consideration these days.
Here's an interesting thing. Now, Disney Vacation Club is that what we've called it, so it's a point-based timeshare. Now, during COVID, I'd bought my 160 points in 2016. I'd used them in 2019. Now we have COVID. I was thinking to myself, right, okay, I could do with some more points. Because of COVID, they're going to fall through the floor. I'm going to zip in there and I'm going to buy them at $20 a point, right? Nah, mate, they went up. They went up during COVID considerably. Now, a lot of people did that because they had money that they were going to spend on package holidays and they'd had now refunded to them. There's several people I know in the UK that went, oh, hold it, I was going to spend this £10,000 on this holiday. I've got it, I've saved it. If I can save another £2,000 or £3,000, I can buy a contract that I can then use every year or every other year, every third year even, to go to Disney. And that's what people did. So even during a pandemic, this product held up, which is just absolutely ludicrous to me. It just seemed incredible. I was so annoyed. I thought I was going to swing in there and pick up some cheap points, and it never happened. I would love to add double the points I've got, because something we haven't mentioned is those points, you can rent them out. You can rent those points out so people can rent them off of you, and you book them a room. So, and you get back more than what you pay in dues.
Yeah.
Back usually around double. So I was thinking, well, if I had double the amount of points I got, I could rent half of them every year and my holiday would be free. Mm-hmm. The bottom line is I would just go more often or stay in a bigger room.
Yeah.
And you've got more dues to pay. That's what happened.
You'd be in one of the grand villas constantly, like.
For two people. It seems 12 for two people.
Yeah. We stayed in one bedroom for two people. It's mad.
Yeah.
But we have. But, you know, there are different ways to offset it if that's what you want to do. If you want to get into it, there are. And I would say rent points before you jump in. Look at this product, rent it,
experience it,
and see if it suits you. Because even that can be about 40% cheaper than the rack price.
Oh yeah.
If I pricing up holidays now for buddies, because I do, for Disney World, just to see how they could do it. I give them the cost breakdown for everything through Walt Disney World, and then I also do rent and DVC points.
Yeah.
And for the room you can get for the price of maybe Caribbean Beach, say, which is actually quite expensive at the moment if you look in.
Yeah, it is.
You can get a deluxe resort for the same sort of price if you're renting points, which is I know what I would rather.
Yeah. The renting point, I think we should not go too much in the weeds of renting, but it is really helpful. As someone who has just rented a year's worth of points, because I wasn't planning to go this year, but that changed. that changed. So I sold my points for this year. So, and that covered my maintenance for the year. So I've now had a year where I've gone, well, I get to use it next year, and I've not had to really pay for it this year because I've just rented what I had, but I wasn't going to use to cover the cost. So they you can do that with Disney Vacation Club, and that's a really key thing. If you're having years where you're not going and you have points that you have available to rent, as Kev said, if you rent them, really, you're going to get your maintenance covered quite quickly. If you charge like $18 to $19 a point in rental fee, which is what usually happens, it doesn't take long. It doesn't take long to get it back. And it's that level of flexibility with the DVC that other timeshares don't give you, right? I could go in there now. I could go, right, I want to go next year for these number of days. I've got availability, right? I don't have enough points that year, but I could borrow some points and I can still book that trip. Whereas if I go to, another timeshare, I can't really do that. And there's going to be like 85 different types of fees to kind of do that. And you'll pay a lot of extra cash around it to kind of make it work. With Disney, there's none of that. It's just built into the product. And it's the only timeshare product that I've researched enough and seen where actually there is no downside to being able to rent your points and do these things, and you know, it gives you just that wide open flexibility. And as Adam said, I know for a fact if I wanted to pay cash yearly to go to Disney World now, it's not possible. It's not doable. There's no
Yeah, that makes it a once in a lifetime thing. Like if you're paying out of pocket, like I paid out of pocket, and I'm like 10 years till we're back, like easy, because I'm like, there's no way.
I mean, what's like a what's the word? A value resort package now from UK for 2 weeks is what? Let's say.
If you go with 2 people, it's about $4.5 grand.
So for a family of 4, we're looking at probably a 5 or 6 realistically.
Yeah.
If we, let's say 7, 8 in peak busy summer period, high holiday school times, right?
Yeah, I was going to say if you're going with school times, you're looking at that.
7, 8 grand.
Maybe 9.
Yeah, right. That's a lot of money. No matter if you've got the money to do it every year, power to be that you. I would question your capability when you could just buy a DVC if you go every year. But my point being is that in the modern age, in the way the world's going at the moment, it is a once in a lifetime trip again. I know we sit here but they'll get you. As Adam says, that mouse will bite you, and you'll want to go back. But you are now in a point where you now have got to start zero, rebuild. Yeah. If you bought, like I said, if you just sacrifice 2 years of them, you can now go for the rest of your days for probably and you probably pay each year probably about half what you would pay for the package holiday, with the maintenance on top.
Yeah.
But you get better room and better amenities.
I like what Joe brought up earlier, that his parents were just like, that's where we go for vacation. That's our place. Like we're going back. And I like that it was a question of not if but when. Because that's kind of how I'm starting to be like, yeah, I do travel other places and I take lots of road trips and stuff, but like I'm always just like, so when's my next trip? And so I think it makes sense if you're asking that question, because if you're taking a Disney trip once every 10 years, then maybe this still could work for you, but it's a different kind of thing. But like if you're going once every couple of years, once a year even, or more than that, then like it sounds like it's kind of the plan for you, because like you said, you're going to pay way less at the end of the day, even though it sounds like more, it's not.
Also, I think a key thing we've missed here as well is the DVC, the membership status doesn't just constrain you to Walt Disney World. You've got Disneyland in Anaheim has DVC resorts. You've got the Grand Californian, Disneyland Hotel. If you have the right contract, you can stay and use your points there too. Good luck getting a 7-month Grand Californian. You've got no chance, but you could do it. Also, you can use your points on the cruises. Again, I wouldn't, but you can. So you can experience Disney Cruise Line using your DVC. You can do Adventures by Disney. The point conversion is terrible, so you shouldn't do that. But
it is so bad.
But you can do it. I said that flexibility is there for you within the package of your points. So you can do all these things. It doesn't mean you should, but you can do it. Right? And I can tell you for a fact, as an avid cruiser, as Adam and Kevin can back up, DVC on the cruise ship. You think Walt Disney World treats you well as a DVC member? Cruise line is different level. Every day you're on that on that boat, you go to that DVC stand, you're getting a gift, you're getting a conversation, you're getting all sorts of extra things, that you don't get at Walt Disney World. So DVC on the cruise ships is just alone is worth it because of that, the way you get treated. Get a magnet on your door. You before you even get on the boat, someone just put a magnet on your door saying "Welcome home."
That's nice. That's a nice touch.
It is a nice touch, and then you can bring them home.
Yeah, and I was actually talking about that with somebody the other day, and my friend was like, why do you love Disney so much? And I told him all the good reasons, like it's awesome and it's magical and it's great and I love it. But one of the reasons I cited was they treat you well even if you're just a guest. Like you go and you feel important and you feel welcomed and everyone's nice to you and everyone's polite to you and says everyone says welcome in, what do you want, what can I get you? And I can totally see the appeal of being a DVC member just from that point. Because if I'm going on vacation, I kind of want to be treated like that, where I'm like, you take care of it. I don't want to do it because I'm on vacation. I work hard and I'm sick of it. So yes, you can get me that. Or yes, I do want it that temperature. Or I do want that magnet or whatever. And so I think that is a really big appeal. Even though it's like something that's kind of easy to write off because it's just customer service, it changes the way you vacation, being treated well.
I think you've hit a massive point there, and it's something when it comes down to the marketing of DVC as well. When I look at marketing material that DVC has routinely done from way back in the day when I signed up onwards. If you're looking at the videos and the promos and some of the stuff on social media, and back in the day when we had good old CDs to promote their products, yes, I've got loads of them as a collection. That is a souvenir in my eyes. It isn't trying to sell you anything. It's telling you what the product is, and that's enough for people. They're not shouting from the rooftops. Back in the day when I signed up back in 2005, it was Disney's best kept secret. They were calling it a secret back then. They didn't want everyone to know about it, but if you wanted to ask the question, we'll show you what it is, and I guarantee you, if you want to be that repeated customer, you want to go back to see the mouse every other year, once every 3 years, then what we're telling you, you will be hooked on, and it's no sales pitch. It is no sales pitch. It's just common sense. If that's the type of way that you want to vacation, as Jackson, you mentioned, I think from a DVC perspective, as well as there's financial things to save with your holidays, you got to have a passion for it, right? You got to want to be back in these places and making your family vacation memories in a Disney property and beyond. And if that is the case, then, like I said, the marketing isn't necessarily trying to persuade you. It's already going to persuade you of what's on the table.
I was going to say DVC is like the prime product. I had a friend who worked for many, many years in the motor industry, and he ended up working for Honda. And he said it was the easiest job he ever had, working for Honda, because the product sold itself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same with DVC.
Yeah.
Product sells itself. You don't have to sell it. So they've got a very easy, certainly up to recent years, they've had a very easy run of it as salespeople for again, we use that word, timeshare company. You know, they weren't having to pressure you. They weren't have to keep you in a room for hours and hours on end to try to get you to sign up. You know, they didn't need to do that. They showed around. What we haven't discussed is you can go to Alana, you can go to Hawaii and stay in a DVC resort. There are 2 other DVC resorts, Vero Beach and Hilton, that again are a beach resort. So you've got that product as well that you can go and do. And I know that Adam's going to Vero Beach this year. Going, yeah, you're going there for.
Yeah.
It is, so you've got other options other than Disney World. And like I said, to me, I just wanted to stay in Disney World. That's all I want to be. I'm not got interest to go outside of Disney World at the moment. I'm still so hungry, even at my age, for Disney World, right? That's the only place I want to be. I don't want to be anywhere else, you know. And to say, well, here you go, here's a product that will make it cheaper for you, Gav. Wow, I'm there, aren't I? I'm there. Yeah. I'm there, chomping at the bit, you know. Yeah. That's why I do a podcast about it, because if I can't go every few months, at least let me talk about it once a month.
Yeah. That's a great point that Kev mentions as well. From my perspective, and I know I'm not alone with this. Growing up, I went to Walt Disney World. We stayed in our drive. We then went on site, stayed in some of the value resorts, been to a moderate, and obviously now with DVC, we're staying with the deluxe. And that's where we wanted to holiday, because that's where Disney was, and the Disney level of service and the entertainment and everything that goes with it. And now, as a DVC member, my August trip is going into the bubble, staying in Walt Disney World, staying in my home resort Saratoga, because that's where my contract is. But also we're spending a bit of time in another DVC resort in the bubble, Animal Kingdom Lodge. Kev sung the praises of Animal Kingdom Lodge, and I've stayed there before, and I agree with him 100% that there's nothing more magical than opening your curtains in the morning, going on your balcony, having coffee with wildlife such as the savannas that you have over there. So there's an experience in itself. By being a DVC member, I've got 2 experiences, my home resort and the immersion of Animal Kingdom Lodge. But then also, I'm going to Vero Beach. Vero Beach is a DVC resort which is on the coast of Florida. It's outside of Disney property, owned by Disney Vacation Club. So now I'm going to a beach resort for a little bit of chill time in my Florida holiday this year. And it's going to have that Disney touch and Disney level of service again, but outside of the bubble, which will be a first experience. And because I've been able to pay off my DVC contract over the years, and all I'm paying is my maintenance dues for this holiday, invariably the accommodation of my holiday is cheaper. That has resulted in me being able to jump on AC's bandwagon with certainly a little bit of recommendation / persuasion from AC. And now I'm going on my first Disney cruise in this holiday as well. And Amazing. To say that I'm going to Walt Disney World, going on a Disney cruise, and staying in a Disney resort on the coast in Florida, if I was doing that cash, 2 kiddos, absolutely no chance.
You'd never be able to do it. You'd be looking at 30 grand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be somebody's life savings, bro.
Opening up so much.
Yeah.
It would be-
be
it-
mine
yeah.
and more. It would be
Yeah,
mine and more for sure.
absolutely.
So it opens up experiences like that by being a DVC member in a product that predominantly is using a Walt Disney World on property resort, but actually look what it's allowing people like myself the opportunity of making memories for.
And the beauty
Yeah.
of that is, if you wanted to do that again in 2 years' time, you could.
I could
You
do
know,
it again.
it's not another 30 grand down payment.
Yeah,
And thinking, oh my gosh, it's ruined us this
Yeah.
holiday.
exactly.
But you could do it again in another 2 years, and then in another 2 years, and then in another 2 years. It is,
Exactly.
you know, you can
Yeah.
carry on doing it. You don't have to keep on saving and making it. You know,
No. Also, you have
so
to.
can make it.
It gives you, like, you know, a Walt Disney World trip from the UK. Jackson, I can't say from a US perspective, but from a UK point, it can be an 18-month planning mission. If it's your first time going, or if it's a cash purchase, you know, I mean, us fanatics will plan 18 months anyway, but you will plan an 18-month trip. You'll book 18 months in advance. I wasn't going this year, right? I booked like 20 days ago, and I'm under 100 days to going. I went onto there. I was like, right, I need accommodation for 2 nights before I get on a cruise. I went on with my points onto my profile, and there was availability for 2 nights. Bang, done. No questions asked. Problem solved. That flexibility is so great. I could just be like, okay, I need 2 nights. I don't care which resort I stay in. I'm not particularly fussed. It can be a Saratoga, Old Key West. If I can get Poly, great. If I can't, no big deal. Whatever's available. It will tell me what's available, and I can go, right, I've got 2 nights. Those are available. Book. Done. Right? And it gives you that flexibility. Whereas if you're like coming from the UK to do a spontaneous trip to get over here would be, and have those rooms, very difficult. You couldn't do that cash.
No chance.
You know.
No, I agree.
And it does open it up.
I think it's the same way here. Like, I mean, I booked our Disney World honeymoon trip like probably 3 months in advance, because it was kind of we didn't know what we wanted to do, and then we finally made up our minds, and it was hard. It was expensive, and it was hard because everything was full and stuff, and yeah, it got hard. And I also wanted to add, so a point we made earlier where we were saying if you upgrade in resort tier, right? And we were like a Pop Century family when I was a kid, and that used to be a way cheaper option too, and it still kind of is. Like, you can still kind of save money if you stay there, and it's a great resort. It's fun. It has all the things you need, and it's neat theming. Like, it's fun, especially for the kiddos. Like, they dig it. But we upgraded to, at least for me, it was an upgrade to Port Orleans, and for me that was a night and day. And so I can't even imagine what going from Port Orleans to something like Grand Floridian or Polynesian, or, you know, all these top tier world resorts. So like, that is also a big draw for me, where you say like, this is where you're buying and this is where you're staying. Like, that makes a huge difference in your trip, especially if it's long and you're taking resort days. Because I didn't take resort days last time, but if you are, you know, if you're staying for 2 weeks and you're like, you know, today's just a resort day, then it does matter where you stay. Because if you're at Pop Century, you're going to be bored in like 3 hours. You're going to go to the pool, and you're going to go to the food, and then you're going to be done. But at one of these 5-star big resorts, you're going to have a whole day's worth of activities to do, and they're going to be awesome.
They do. Yeah, they do. I mean, all the resorts have those to a degree, but the DVC resorts, especially from like a kiddo's perspective, you know, like they'll have, you know, I mean, Boardwalk's got a whole kids club area that you can send them into. The Polynesian will do things like, the staff will do like morning stretch routines and exercise classes with the kiddos and things like that. And then like they do activities by the pool with the kids, and there's loads of things to do. And that's the difference, like you say, with Pop Century. Again, fantastic resort, lovely thing. But there's not much to do outside of just the pool and the food and things like that. Whereas if you're at the deluxe resort, you've normally got a nice gym on site. Not that I'm a gym person when I go on holiday, but I could be. You know, you've usually got really nice bars, nice seating areas, good restaurant areas, like multiple options. You know, whereas like with Pop Century, you'll have the quick service, like food court area. Whereas at Saratoga, you've got the paddocks, you've got an artist palette, or is it animated art? It is artist palette, isn't it, Adam? Sorry if I'm butchering that. I'm not an avid. Yeah. You've got multiple options at the Polynesian. You've got Ohana, you've got Wailulu, you've got Captain Cook. You have more variety, therefore, and also all DVC resorts are located in ways that you can walk somewhere or easily transport somewhere. So Saratoga, you can walk Disney Springs. Polynesian, you can walk to the Grand Floridian, you can walk up to Magic Kingdom, you can do those things. You can get the monorail to Epcot. You know, they open up the transportation to those resorts across all of them really easily. So you have multiple outlets. You're not just waiting for the buses at the front and that's all you've got. You know, Riviera's got Skyline, granted so's Caribbean Beach and Pop Century for that example, you know. But they're recent additions, whereas the DVC resorts have always had that option on top. So I think it's a really good point that you say, you know, if the night and day step up from value to moderate, it's higher again when you go from moderate to deluxe. You know, the one key is with the moderate and the value resorts is motel style, so it's outside doors on the hallway. Nothing wrong with that. Saratoga's the same. I think Old Key West is the same as well. But when you go into things like Riviera, Polynesian, Boardwalk, Beach Club, it's not. It's very much walk into the building. You're in the building. And even that in itself, it's a very small detail. And it's really not a big deal. But it just adds that little shift of, okay, I've gone from that moderate feel to that deluxe feel. There's that little touch that you kind of, you eventually appreciate, even though it makes absolutely no difference. And is really trivial.
Yeah,
Well,
and
yeah.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, from my point of view, I could keep on about being old, but we're coming in from the UK for a longer period of time, so we will have a couple of days at the beginning where we've got jet lag. We want to relax in, so we might have time by the pool or time, well, to be honest, going around shopping down Disney Springs. So we might stay at Saratoga Springs for a couple of nights, or, like I say, Animal Kingdom lodges. There's something to do for those first couple of days where we still feel groggy and we still feel like we're on the plane, our ears are popping and all that, because this is what happens to you when you get old, you know. So the first couple of days while you're getting used to the resort, it's nice to stay in one that's got somewhere like Disney Springs right on your doorstep, or Animal Kingdom Lodge where you've got all those animals and all that, those activities to do. And they always organise activities in the evenings, in the afternoons. I've got my children in their 20s, so they don't even come with me now. But, you know, there's more to do at these resorts, and there's more linked to them. That's why we love Saratoga, because we got these springs on our doorstep. You know, you've got that big shopping district. My wife, you know, is happy to go around there for the first day, and then a day or two later we can start with the parks. You know, rather than having to go in. I mean, these guys here, the two Adams here, they're off the plane and they're straight to
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'll get down. I'm like, get me into that bloody resort. I can't be dealing with that. Oh, no chance.
My first
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's what I want. That's what a refill mug.
Yeah, the refillable mug. Yeah, that's always the first thing.
Just want a root beer.
Yeah, same.
I think one thing that we haven't quite touched on is like the DVC exclusive events as well. I don't want to drag this episode on too long, but there's loads throughout the year. I mean, I'm experiencing my first one now in September, where I'm going to Moonlight Magic at Epcot.
Yes.
I can't wait.
Nice.
You know, it's going to be a lot of fun. Get to stay in the park for an extra couple of hours, do the rides when there's not so many people around, and yeah,
Free food, well treated,
Yeah.
special characters usually as well.
yeah. So
And
you know,
Joe, how much did you pay for that?
it was with the membership.
Magic.
Exactly my point. Exactly right. If you want to pay for more hours in Disney these days, if you want to go to a special event
Yeah.
and you're paying package prices, you look at how much
It's
Not
an
So
extra ticket.
Scary, and it's an extra price.
And not so scary, not knocking it. Cool event, never done it. Looks amazing, but it's like $250
Yeah.
on top of the park ticket.
Well, with $225, you get 10% discount on the park as a DVC member.
Yeah,
That's
true.
true.
Use that discount.
That's true, and you also get 20% on most merch. You know,
You do, and top tier.
you get exclusive stuff as well. You know,
Yeah.
exclusive DVC pins. I'm a big pin guy. I've got
Yes,
DVC
yeah.
pins on
Well,
my
you know,
phone.
yeah.
So like,
And most of the time, the cast members won't single you out as a resale versus direct member. They will still the discount one. They're usually very flexible with. There are certain things they won't. When we went last year, as Adam, you know, I managed to wing all sorts of stuff as a resale contract that I should never have been able to get hold of, but I got it. I got into the lounges when I shouldn't have done. I had special character meetings which I shouldn't have done, but they let me in. Yeah.
Lounges.
Don't forget lounges, gents. You got lounges in Epcot and Magic Kingdom. I didn't get that one. They wouldn't let me in that one, but I tried.
I can usually find somebody who can get me into a DVC lounge. I never have
Yeah.
a problem with that. But the other thing that we've got,
That's the one. Look at that. That's a proper pin.
I would like that, please.
No, I'm actually going to keep it.
It's my membership pin, Adam. You can't have that. That's my membership pin.
all deluxe hotels get 2 hours on 2 nights of the week extra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Late at night anyway, regardless. But you have to be staying at a deluxe resort. So a DVC resort or a standard deluxe, a deluxe resort. So you've got that as a perk as well. And that's great if you want to, if you want to do the rides you can't get on, like Tron, for instance, which is a nightmare to get on at times, especially if you go at a busy time. But I went back in the evenings when the late hours were on in February and went on it. And I still stand by it. Tron at night is the best ride. It's better at night than it is during the day.
It's way better at night. It's way better at night.
Like you say, what would those 2 hours cost you on one of those late night things?
Exactly.
A lot. Yeah, a lot.
It's expensive, isn't it? It's
and this is interesting because when we talk about anytime we talk about vacationing and the way we do Disney on this podcast, it always comes down to what kind of Disney goer are you? Are you like a maximizer? Are you a laid back chill guy? And what I'm hearing is DVC kind of allows you to have vacations like we kind of used to have, like you don't have to maximize with a DVC. You can be like, I'm going to take a resort day and that's cool. Or I'm going to book this trip fairly close to when I'm going and that's totally fine, or whatever. And I kind of like that because I think that would appeal to a lot more people than they think. Like, I think a lot of people write it off and I think they'd really like it. But as always, it comes down to how you want to do your vacations. And so if you're going to Disney World once every 10 years, once every 20 years, like fine, do your thing. But for Disney people, DVC does make sense, especially if you're going, if you're making this big long trips, which I appreciate.
There's somebody missing off this call who's actually, as we speak, at a festival. Now, if Luke was here, he's second generation and his parents bought him real early, didn't they, in the 90s? And his
Third generation. His grandparents are OG first time buyers. He's third gen.
Yeah. But my point is, his parents go and very rarely buy a ticket now.
Yeah.
They don't go parks. They just say they're resorts. Yeah.
So there's I can't imagine doing that. I couldn't. You can go to Disney World and not go to the parks. I don't know. But I buy my 14-day parks ticket. I'm going 14 days, but I'm there 20 nights, maybe 21. It depends. But I'll get my 14 days in Disney in those parks. But now I've got those other odd days to relax. Sometimes I stay with friends. Sometimes I go to off-site somewhere. But we always do a longer trip so we can maximise that 14-day pass. Because if I pay for 14 days, I want to be in the park for 14 days. Yeah. Maybe not all day, but I want to be able to go in 14 times.
Yeah.
I've said it in previous episodes. We as Brits get such a good deal on the 14-day pass.
Don't say that.
Oh,
don't say that.
Substantially. It is true though. I mean, what's it currently at? I think it's like It's like under £500 for a 14-day pass.
I think it's like $460.
What?
Unlimited access, 14 days to all four parks.
That's
plus the water parks.
Crazy. That's wild.
Unlimited and photo pass. Don't forget photo passes in that as well.
Pass. Yeah. Park hopper. Golf. Walk parks.
Yeah. I mean, we get such a good deal. Mix that with the DVC. You're only then paying your dues, your flights, dining plan.
Wow.
And
Which
the park ticket. My holiday this year, just for me, is costing me about £1,800, which,
That's amazing.
Yeah, I think
that's a great deal.
That's a great deal. Gosh dang.
To go to Disney World for 2 weeks, staying in a deluxe resort with my food, my tickets, and my flights.
That's wild.
I think last year for us, which was 2 weeks, staying in Saratoga, Polynesian, dining plan, tickets was for 4 of us, so 2 adults, 2 kids. One of our kids is under 3, so it didn't cost it. It was like under 6,000.
That's amazing.
to go to Disney World. It's a lot of money, but to go to Disney World and stay where you get to stay
It's a 25 grand holiday.
Yeah, 100%. You know, it's wild how it makes it work.
Wow.
You know, but yeah, because I was looking at potentially maybe buying a 1-day Hollywood Studios ticket when we go out this time. It was like $140 for the day.
Yep.
I'm just not paying. I'm sorry, I'm not paying it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I don't even get hoppers.
Horror Nights.
Yeah, we don't even do hoppers
Yeah,
anymore.
that was not
when we
park
go.
hop. That was a 1-day, 1 park ticket. I was
Yeah.
like, that's wild.
At one stage, when the dollar was so strong against the pound, when the pound dropped really low, I bought a 14-day park ticket for a friend of mine that was staying 10 days in Disney, but she was an American.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it was cheaper for me to buy her a 14-day park ticket from the UK with a conversion, because the dollar, we got down, didn't we, once, somewhere under 120, about 116, 118 we got down to, didn't we, at one stage. We're up there now,
It was a rough
135,
time.
but yeah,
Yeah, it
it was
was.
rough for a while, wasn't it? And somebody who I deal with very regularly, I said to him, let's do the maths on it. And it worked out about $100 cheaper than she could buy a 10-day pass.
Sheesh.
Wow.
That'll save you money.
And she
Well-
got 14 days with all the, like I said, park hopper and everything,
Gosh.
which she wasn't going to do. She was just going to do 10-day ticket, you know.
Yeah.
But it's you know, we get better deals from like that point of view. But yeah, it's those flights that murder us. See, now you
Yeah,
can just jump in your
that's the
car,
problem.
Jackson, and drive. Jump
What?
in and drive.
Drive to Florida. That's kind of far from me. It's like a 25-hour drive, brother.
Hours.
That's easy.
Disneyland, now that's an easy drive. That's like 12 from here, maybe 15 or something. But yeah, that's not bad. That I can do. Lots of stops. You can stay with family along the way. But Florida's a different deal.
Man, I got to take a boat. I got to take a car. I got to take a plane.
You have to go on every form of transport.
Mainland of the UK.
To be fair, Kevin, you did choose to live on an island off main England. So it's
Yeah,
kind of
that's
you
true.
made that choice to live on an island. So you kind of have to reap what you sow there.
You silly geese settling an island.
I'm surprised you've not decided to get a cheap cruising now. All the UK sailings for Disney this year are dirt cheap, and it's literally but you get on a boat to get on another boat.
Yeah, I am.
Because you get in Southampton, you just get off that boat and go straight on another one.
Yeah, we did look at one for September, but there wasn't anything that fitted.
They're pretty cheap. They've gone right down
Yeah.
massively. Anyway, we're digressing here.
Yeah. I was about to say, I think we've explored this pretty well. Is there anything anyone wanted to add before we kind of wrap it up?
Could I
Kids eat
just-
free.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great thing to throw in.
DVC. So if you're buying dining at the moment, I don't know how long this will last for, but at time of recording, if a DVC member goes in to buy dining plan because they can through the online portal, if you are a paying adult, a child gets free dining plan. So whichever dining plan you pick, whether it be deluxe, regular, or quick service, your child currently gets free. You get free kids. So kids eat free dining plan.
That's
so for
worth
the
it.
2 nights that we're going before we go to the cruise this year, I've decided to pay for the 2 days of dining plan. Because it's going to cost me $190 for 2 days, and we're going to take the kids to do 1900 Park Fair, because we're staying at the Grand Floridian for one night. So we're going to do and the cost of 1900 Park Fair alone was $190. So by just doing that, I've covered the whole 2 days of dining plan with kids eat free.
Brilliant.
Good deal. That's a good deal.
So
Give me that deal.
I'm gonna be smug with my Dole Whip on that one because it's
Yeah.
technically free.
Nice.
Yeah, 100%. I think Jackson, from me, just for my bit for closing, would just be like, what you said was 100% true in how you do Disney. And I think that's the DVC question. How do you do Disney? And it gives you multiple options to do Disney. You want to be the park goer, you want to get there, rope drop to park close, absolutely fine. You've now got some DVC resorts at your disposal where you're not having to wait for transport and be in a massive queue with, you know, we've all seen it, and not to knock the value resorts, but it happens. You get a massive queue because they
My
have
God,
a
yeah.
massive amount of people that are going back there after Happily Ever After. So you've got different options there. You've got the Skyline, you've got the monorail. You could walk to Grand Flow and Poly if they're your home resort, so you've got that as well. And so the experience of Disney is one thing, and the way you want to experience it. There is a financial element to DVC as well, but as mentioned earlier, there are perks. Those perks will help you in your Disney vacation, because trust me, I'm going in August. Because we've landed in August, we've got our DVC Welcome Home Weeks. There is up to 40% off certain restaurants, including character dining. There's going to be 40% off. It's going to save my family a ton of money, purely because I'm DVC. So there's a mathematical question to it as well. There's also a parks experience question and where you want a holiday. I just implore people, if you are going if you're going every year, if you're even doing once every 3 years, check it out. Talk to us. We've got podcasts that cover the topic. We've got some experience and opinions that we can help with. And just go online. There's a massive community of us out there, and we love to talk a little bit of DVC, as you can hear from here. And plus, free hats. Free hats.
Yay, free hats.
Free hats.
I'm
Free
in. Sold.
hat.
That was what I was waiting for.
Free hats.
Do they have the stone
Those
one?
welcome home weeks. They do. You're gonna have to go to Hawaii to get that. According to them, you have to go to Hawaii, but I don't know.
Just closing from me, what I would say is, if you're interested in it, go back and listen. I did a Brits Guide DVC episode in May. We re-released our very first episode, and it explains DVC in some really good context. Although it's 5 years old now, it's still true to it. It's still very good information. I released that at the beginning of May this year. I re-released it for our 5th anniversary, and it still holds up. It still holds up as an explanation of DVC. So go back and listen to that.
Well, what we'll do, we'll put a link in the bottom to that.
That's a great idea.
Okay, great. I'd appreciate that. But like I say, it's just I spent a lot of time on it when we first started recording, and it's quite a comprehensive look into DVC. And like I said, it's all there on the internet if you want to search it out and find it. But like I said, if you go in, like Adam said, you're going to spend the money anyway, aren't you?
Yeah.
And I like doing this podcast because it's helped me learn a lot about things that I otherwise would have written off and I just thought I knew about. But as I've delved deeper into them, like DVC, I've learned that there's a lot to be gained and there's a lot to save, and it's great. Like, it's a great thing. So I hope.
Try cruising.
Dude, I know. It's on my list. It's on my list.
I can't wait for you to have a baseball cap like the rest of us.
It's gonna be good. It's gonna be fun. As soon as I'm out of school, I'll come on there and argue with you guys all day. But Joe, did you have any closing thoughts?
No, I'm all good from my side.
All right. Well, as always, thank you so much for tuning in to Diz Debate. We covered some serious ground today, and I'm really glad that we had our awesome on-hand experts here. Thank you so much for being here, Kevin and AC and Adam and Joe. Thanks for providing your awesome insights and for educating us about DVC. It was a privilege, and I'm definitely gonna go buy one of those stone-colored hats on eBay now.
Yay.
But
It's the best one. It's the best one.
until next time, everybody, thank you so much for watching, and take care. Bye bye now.